Have you ever wondered what goes into your favorite stories and worlds? Welcome to Watch Mojo, and today we'll be taking a look at how a fictional universe is created. If you like what you're hearing, be sure to check out the full song at the link below.
We are the wild ones, but an envious fly. Out of the darkness we find.
For this video, we're looking at the entire process of building a world from scratch, from the author taking notes to the costume department of a movie adaptation.
Come on now, come closer. Let's talk if you don't mind. I got a real treat for you today.
The quintessential example of world building is J.R.R. Tolkien's Middle-earth, where The Lord of the Rings takes place, but you could make a case for earlier works being made-up fictional universes of their own. Mythologies like the Greeks and Romans developed could arguably be considered a shared world, as could the England that King Arthur reigned over, that romantic fodder of so many poems and stories from across Europe. But a fictional universe as the brainchild of a singular person certainly does date back to Tolkien, and has only become more proliferate in the last century. As far as creating one goes, Tolkien literally wrote the book, and he left very large shoes to fill.
You shall not pass!
A good fictional universe has to have good lore, but this doesn't mean it's necessary to spend years beforehand coming up with histories, side characters, rules, and maps.
I can't carry it for you, but I can carry you.
It's possible to come up with a rich universe after already developing the bones of the story you want to tell, and often you can tell that new layers are being added to a big franchise the longer they go on. The original Star Wars trilogy wasn't created with full, exact outlines for the prequel and sequel trilogies in mind, but it's not the lack of 70s foresight that makes those movies good or bad.
These aren't the droids you're looking for.
These aren't the droids we're looking for.
He can go about his business.
You can go about your business.
Similarly, the sprawling world of the MCU was not planned out in its entirety in a room by Kevin Feige in the days leading up to Iron Man.
What's going on? Tony, you can't afford to be this naive.
You know when I was naive before, when they said, here's the line, we don't cross it, this is how we do business.
Nobody knew exactly what would happen in Endgame when the MCU was set into motion.
He did exactly what he said he was going to do. Thanos wiped out 50% of all living creatures.
That being said, creating a rich mythology should still be part of the process, and it's the worlds themselves that make franchises like Harry Potter, Star Wars, or Star Trek so beloved.
Expecto Patronum!
One of the things Tolkien is most famous for, and which often sets a good fictional world apart from a great one, is the creation of fictional languages.
Since childhood, I have been fascinated with language, obsessed with it. I've invented my own. Full, complete languages. Look.
He studied English literature and language at Oxford University, eventually becoming a professor of Anglo-Saxon literature, and he put this knowledge of linguistics to work when he came up with Elvish.
Tolkien.
Yes, sir.
German origin.
I think so, sir.
Yeah, from the Anglo-Saxon parts.
But Elvish and its many dialects isn't the most popular fictional language. That honor belongs to Klingon, the most widely spoken fictional language in the world, which, along with High Valyrian, is available to learn as a course on Duolingo. The first smatterings of Klingon were first sparked into being by James Doohan, a D-Day veteran known better as Star Trek's Captain Montgomery Scott, and better known as Scotty.
Any man who could manage such a feat, I would not dare disappoint.
However, the germs of what Doohan began were fleshed out, organized, and developed by Mark Okrand, a linguist hired to work on the third Star Trek film, which was the franchise's first big-screen Klingon-heavy adventure. Okrand has said that the best way to make the Klingon language sound like real language was to make it one. People even have wedding ceremonies in Klingon.
Howard. Bernadette.
Captain, I told you don't Klingon!
But you don't need to learn another language to understand why people love Lord of the Rings or Star Trek. Away from the minds of writers like Tolkien, Martin, and Lucas, universes are made whole when they reach the silver screen, and a lot more people are involved in making them shine. While Peter Jackson was certainly able to make the Lord of the Rings trilogy the way he wanted, there were hundreds more people working behind the scenes. Multiple people worked on the screenplay, and Fellowship of the Ring spent 3 years in pre-production before filming began, during which dozens of people worked on concept art, costume design, set design, and the creation of props.
You spend that time refining the work and making it as good as you can make it.
All of those people are integral to the process, not to mention the actors who brought the novel's characters to life. And while Star Wars is often held on a world-building pedestal and an example of George Lucas's unobstructed creative vision, the original trilogy also had multiple screenwriters in addition to Lucas.
The circle is now complete. When I left you, I was but the learner. Now I am the master.
Only a master of evil, Darth.
Though he did provide the story, he didn't direct Empire Strikes Back or Return of the Jedi, because the workload of both writing and director was too much. So while we may think of fictional universes being the property of a single creator, this is rarely the case, as the more popular a piece of media gets, the more people are involved in bringing it to life, and they all deserve recognition.
Now, fulfill your destiny and take your father's place at my side.
But just because something isn't the product of one person's creative vision doesn't make it any less valid. The MCU isn't bad because it isn't the work of one single writer-director. In fact, that's rare even through its comic book source material. Innumerable writers have also done wonders for the Cthulhu mythos.
Dude, over here! Hey, Cthulhu! Stop!
While the tropes and themes of the mythos were created by H.P. Lovecraft, even during Lovecraft's lifetime, he encouraged his writer friends to liberally use his creations if they wanted, and a lot of them did. Lovecraft's bigotry has left an unpleasant legacy, but today, diverse and marginalized writers latch onto the Cthulhu mythos and keep it alive and thriving far more than Lovecraft ever did. Only 12 of his short stories are actually counted in the official mythos.
My son, this is your rightful place. Everything is yours. The old world is dying and we are giving birth to the new. Look, they come!
While a fictional universe can be vast and exciting if only one person has worked on it, it takes an army to realize the depth and scope of Middle-earth, the Wizarding World, Westeros, and that galaxy far, far away. And that's how a fictional universe is created.
Where are you off to? Don't stop, I'm already late! Late for what? I'm going on an adventure!
Do you agree with our picks? Let us know in the comments. And hey, if you're a fan of the song playing right now, be sure to check out the music video for it right here.
Staring at the walls that push control.